Hi, welcome to the Come Off Conqueror show. I'm your host, Bonnie, and today I'm here with my two dearest friends, Phumla and Lamar. Y'all recognize Lamar from one of our previous videos, and this is my sweet friend who has come all the way from South Africa to visit me, and I'm so excited to have her. So today we've gotten together to talk about this idea of, do you ever really heal from trauma? Is it a destination or is it a journey? This idea of if you can't talk about your past, does that mean you aren't really healed from it? So we've kind of some ideas that we've been kind of discussing as we sat talking over dinner, and we decided to go ahead and do a video about it so we could kind of we're out where a bunch of restaurants are, so if there's random people walking by, that's why. So let me pose the question. What do you guys think? Do you think well, that's the first one. Are you truly healed from your trauma if you can't talk about it? What do you think?
Well, for me, I mean, trauma, I'm going to say in the beginning, I wasn't ready to deal with it. And I'm going to say I was far from over it because they say it's a process. And they say, by talking about it, you take the part of it. So me, I had to go to therapy for years. And did it help? Yes. But did it take it away completely? No. Because reminders bring me back up to the trauma. When I hear somebody else's stories or seeing the news, and in the beginning, was I embarrassed about it? Yes, and I wasn't ready to deal with it, so that's why I drank alcohol. I smoked weed because I wasn't ready to deal with it, and it helped me numb the pain. But once that alcohol wore off and the weed wore off, it's like it comes back 10 times even harder. But as years go by, I think I was ready to deal with it because, you know, sometimes you got to be vulnerable in front of somebody, and I did. I shared my trauma, and it helps, and I guess I am ready to deal with it. But this is where the journey started, and I'm going to say I'm still in the beginning of the journey because it still hurts. And do I still cry about it? Of course I do. So that means I'm not completely over it. Now, if I could just share my trauma and just deal with it, and I don't shed a tear, that means I'm completely over it. So do I hurt? Do it still hurts when I hear somebody went through the same thing I went through? Getting sexually molested. And yeah, so it hurts when I don't like hearing it from nobody else. So it hurts me. So that means I'm really not over it myself. And can I share it down? Am I a little bit more comfortable sharing it? Yes, because at times, they like the people say, time heals everything. And the longer you deal with it, but there comes a point where, you know, if you have a good friend out there, it's okay to share it because a good friend is not going to judge you. They ain't gonna look at you different. They still gonna look at me like Lamar. But am I over it? No, because it could be the little slightest thing. I could hear somebody's story that'll trigger me, that'll put me back out there as that little 6-year-old boy getting touched, by the same sex. So I'm gonna say right now, it being 42 and 6 years old, that's almost 30, almost 30, 40 years. So no, I'm not completely over it, but I'm gonna say I'm getting there. But am I 100% over it? No. And just a reminder, it triggers me. So
Do you ever think you will get over it? Or do you think it's going to be a process?
I'm gonna say trauma and grief goes hand in hand with me because I got a lot of loved ones that I lost. My dad, my brothers, my uncles, my grandparents, and it still hurts. Like when I was still in my teens, like losing somebody, I still can remember like it just happened, 10 minutes ago, and it still hurts. And grief and like trauma is like it's just them is like some of the hardest things to really get over and just put behind you. But if you try to just bury it, well, let me speak for me and make an honest statement. So when I just try to bury it and don't deal with it, and it comes up and it plays a part in my life. So I guess it is good to just deal with it, but yeah, you can't bury it, and not deal with it because someone's gonna remind you of that. Somebody's gonna have a grandparent that's lost. It's gonna remind you of yours or the grief or the trauma you go through.
For me, I think if you're If you are not ready to talk about like your trauma, you're not you're not over it because it still has power over you. Um, I don't think you can get over, quote unquote, any sort of trauma. It will always be there with you. It might not affect you as much when you don't allow it to hurt you, when you've dealt with every single emotion that needs to be dealt with. So if I have like a past trauma and I'm like, I can't talk about it, it's because I'm not over it. When I'm able to hear other people's stories and talk about my story, should I feel the need to share, and it doesn't hurt me or trigger me as much, then that's when I feel like you're at a point where you over what happened to you, in a sense that you don't let what happened to you control your emotions or control how you react. um, in that sense you would be over it, but I don't think that you could completely be over something extremely traumatic. I mean, traumas are different. So with the extremes, and it could be extreme to you and not to me, but with whatever extreme you have, then yeah, you can't really get over it. But once you're able to just share and it doesn't affect you or how you treat other people because of it, then I think that's when you could, in a sense, be over it.
And to piggyback what she said, sorry,
Yeah,
trauma is, well, for me, trauma is eternal pain. And it's so much harder to get over eternal pain than physical pain. It's like, I'd rather for you to hit me in the head with a hammer, I would heal in a few hours after that. But if you hurt me internally, it's like the trauma that I've been through, it hurts in the inside, and it's like it takes a whole lot longer to get over it. So that's what I mean, that it takes a while for that eternal pain, and that's what trauma is eternal pain, and it just hurts, and it takes so much longer to get over it.
Pastor, I'm so sorry. Pastor
great.
TD Jakes, I used to watch a lot of sermons, and he said something to that effect, that when you have an internal pain, whether it's a heartbreak, whether it's trauma from years ago, he was talking about how the brain registers pain the same. So whether you have been stabbed, or you got shot on the leg, or you were heartbroken, your brain registers that it hurts. But unlike the physical pain, you can say, okay, I got shot here, I can treat this wound. When it's internal, it's a bit harder to treat because people even can't see it. You can go around smiling and people don't think you're not okay, because we don't wear our pain. So yeah, it's true. It's harder when it's internal because you need to address those issues. So it won't heal because there's no bandage inside, but you need to talk about it, reach out for help, and talk to people who've been through the same situation as you, and maybe ask how they got through it. And yeah, I think that would be best.
And that's kind of the whole point of this channel, is that idea of community, right? And knowing that there's someone else out there who is feeling the same way that you have and has been through something similar to you. There's such relief knowing that you're not crazy, that these thoughts that you're having and these feelings that you're having aren't your imagination, right? And like, it's so validating knowing that someone feels and is going through the same kind of experience, the same healing journey. So I think it's a really interesting thing. I used to beat myself up and think, why am I not over this? How come I'm not over this? It's been years. Like, why? And I used to think like healing was a destination. And I now am pretty convinced that it's a journey, and that there's going to be things that come up that re-trigger and resurface the emotions and the feelings and everything. But I think you said it great, that like your ability to bounce back from those triggers, that's called emotional resiliency. And so your ability to be triggered, I think what happens is over time, if you've dealt with your pain and you've gone to therapy, you've done whatever it is that's therapy for you, okay? Like there's so many different types of therapy out there. But if you've dealt with it and you've been healing from it, your ability to bounce back from being triggered is shortened.
Yeah.
Right? So like, instead of, I was telling them in the restaurant, hopefully my husband doesn't mind me sharing this, but he knows that once we started this channel, and I'm a bit of an open book, so, but like, for me, the first few years of our marriage were really hard in the intimacy arena because I'd get triggered a lot. Not because of him, he didn't do anything, he wasn't abusing me or anything. It just was, if somebody told me their story, or if I saw a news story about a rape, or I watched it on a video or on like a movie or anything like that, like anything remotely close to what happened to me, I could not be intimate. Not just that day, but for like days. And obviously that's not great for a marriage, right? And it took a long time. And what's actually interesting for me is when I started this project 3 years ago, even though our channel is only a month old, I started this project over 3 years ago. And when I started this project, I met dozens and dozens and dozens of people who've been through what I've been through. I've met with so many different therapists and neuropsychologists and DV advocates and social workers and all these different people in this arena to learn. And as I've been doing this, my own healing has been facilitated to now I can talk about my story without breaking down and without it triggering me to the point where, like, this is so TMI, but like I can hear someone's story and go home and be fine and be able to snuggle with my husband and be intimate if that's gonna happen. But like even just snuggling with him was hard. Just hugging, having physical contact was difficult, and I can do that now without issue. And for me, that's a miracle because that was such a big hurdle. And does that mean I don't get triggered? Nope. That's not what it means. I still get triggered. I still have things that bring me back to that moment, right? And things still happen, but my ability to bounce back is so much faster. And that's my prayer for everybody watching this video and who's a part of our Facebook group and stuff, is that your ability to bounce back will be quickened, and that you'll be able to talk about your story and help other people heal from your story, and that you'll be able to be an instrument in someone else's lives. Because man, everybody sharing their stories with me has been such a godsend, and I have felt like my once I started opening up and really being okay with telling my story, that's when the healing really took off, right? I've been to years of therapy and years of talk therapy and everything, but once I started really opening up and being more vulnerable with people, not just therapists, that's when for me my healing was quickened. And I'm not saying that's the answer for everybody. I'm not saying go blab your story to the whole world, right? But for me, that was a big turning point for me. What do you think? Sorry.
I definitely think that's true. I think that's also something that I need to learn for myself. The biggest reason why, firstly, I'm not over, I realize now.
And I'm not asking you to tell your story.
Yeah, no,
I hope you know that.
it's okay. I'm not over what happened to me when I was a child. I realize that now through the conversation we had today, because there have been times where I have shared my story and I was not like crying over it, but today when we were talking and I just started crying, I realized I'm not over it. But for me, the reason why I don't want to talk about it is I don't want to feel like I'm forever the victim. I don't want to feel like, oh, like I don't want people to be like, oh, she's such a victim, or you know. But what I realize is that I'm actually victimizing myself, and I'm continuing this whole victim thing, but not the person who did this, but I'm now the own villain in my story because I'm not allowing myself to heal and to get over it, and I'm stuck with so many emotions when if I can talk about it, then I could get ideas on how to get over it, you know, like or what to do to better myself, and if I do get triggered for it, not to linger so much to the fact that I'm like we were talking and I'm afraid of when I do get married, being with my husband in any shape or form, even if it's alone in a room with my husband, because of what I've been through. And that made me realize that is a big thing. That is a big thing. And so we need to not victimize ourselves and literally become a survivor, in the sense that we have survived a tough traumatic experience and we were able to overcome it, not let it have a hold in our lives, and move forward with life, because we are in essence robbing ourselves of so many beautiful things. Like how you said you weren't able to even snuggle with your husband. Those are beautiful moments that you could have had, and we are gonna now rob ourselves of these beautiful moments because we're stuck in we're stuck in that. And I think we are the victim but also the villain if we don't allow ourselves to heal, talk about it, get help, and move forward.
It's a really interesting idea that we're making ourselves the villain by keeping ourselves from healing. That's interesting. What do you think, Lamar?
Me, I love what she said, but so for me, right, since I became a member of the church, right, I can relate to people that just grew up in the church all their life, and I can relate to converts like myself, and what I mean by that, I can relate to them is, a person doesn't have to, live my life, and it's like I could always relate to their story because I know, both sides of the field. So, but I always be careful on what I say when a person says, "Oh, I can relate to you," and if they ask you a question, "Oh, you can relate to me," so have you been through this and been through that? And if they tell you no, then I'm gonna look at them like, then you really can't relate to me. If you ain't really live a certain lifestyle like how I did, so I'm always careful how I word when I talk to people. Because if I can't write, I may be like, I feel for you, and I'm sorry that happened. I would never say I relate to you unless I actually had that experience myself. So I love the converts, of my word that I could actually relate to, because I will say that I can relate to you, and it's like, and I always give them like what helped me get over it. It's like I give them I guess what is a good word? Advice, or I just tell them what helped me, because I try not to give nobody advice because sometimes they can look at it as in a bad way. Um, but yeah, it's a process, and I mean, what happened to me at 6 years old, it still brings tears to my eyes. But can I say, am I over it? No, but is it better by talking about it and sharing it? It does. It does help take the power out of it. But I'm going to be honest with you, I'm never going to be completely over it. I never.
Right.
But it does. I mean, it's better. And I love sharing it with people that hasn't been through it, or the people that has had the same experiences, because you get feedback on two different levels and they both could be helpful. So that's why it's good to share about your trauma in your past, because you know a person that never been through it or a person that have been through it can give you some kind of advice that can help you. And that's why it's good to share about it. It's okay to be vulnerable today. And to me, being vulnerable, I thought it was a sign of weakness, telling somebody what makes me hurt, because the way I was conditioned that men don't cry, men don't talk about their problems, and they put it all on women. Like, women is the only one to deal with feelings, but that's a bunch of baloney, because us men, we have feelings just as much, and we deal with them too. So, I don't know who this is.
We're going to a rave now.
That's true. What he's saying,
Oh, this
because
is my verse.
Okay.
I was also conditioned to like the fact that if you tell people what hurts you, you're giving them ammo to come
Right.
back and hurt you. So I was so used to just closing it off, and I'm not gonna tell you how I'm doing. If you ask me how I am, I'm fine, even if I'm breaking down internally, because that's what I was conditioned to. That if you tell people this is where I'm hurting, or this is a trigger for me, then they can use that as ammo to come back and just stab you in the back or just break you down even more. And it's sad that in some situations that's actually been true and it's happened. But in most cases, you know, it hasn't been. So I mean, I made Bonnie, and she's just been a literal angel sent from God. And I think so I think this even is part of my healing process. Yeah.
My video editor is gonna hate me. She's gonna be like, how do I boost the audio on this? Sorry, everybody. I don't think we'll do another outdoor video in a crowded place ever again.
No.
So I'm really sorry. I'm still learning. Give me some grace. Sorry. But I think, we are conditioned, just people in general, to have this perfection. We live in a perfection world, right? With Instagram and Pinterest and all those things, right? Like we're conditioned to think that life is supposed to be perfect, and we're supposed to be perfect, and everything is supposed to go our way, and heaven forbid we air our dirty laundry, and like be vulnerable. We're supposed to be confident. Well, you know what? I had this realization the other night that confidence is humility. True confidence is someone who is humble and who can recognize their weaknesses and recognize their mistakes and admit their mistakes.
I'm doing it for me too, though.
Without it ruining their perception of themselves. I think that's what it really means to be confident.
Yeah.
If you can admit your mistakes without it ruining how you feel about yourself and what you think about yourself. If you can still think, I'm still a great person, I still have self-worth, even though I made this mistake, that is a confident person.
Yeah, that is true.
And y'all talking about mistakes, right? I didn't feel I was worth, and rebelling for so long and the mistakes that I made, didn't nobody else judge me. I judged myself. And I'm my biggest worst critic. I'm hard on myself. I don't like making mistakes. I don't want to be labeled as the failure, but I did. I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't think I was worthy to ask God for his forgiveness, because I did. I felt like a loser because, just what I was taught and the way I was just living, it was more of a survival than anything. And mistakes is okay because mistakes can be your greatest lesson in life, to learning what not to do. Because I don't know who always had 100% on their tests. We all make mistakes here and there.
I was training students, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
But no, that's how we grow in life, from our mistakes, from our trials, from our tribulations. So it's okay to make mistakes, but just try not to, continue to make the same thing over and over. But that's how you live and you grow and you learn from your mistakes.
Lamar flew all the way here from California just to tell us that. Thank you, Lamar.
You're welcome.
And with that, I think that was a great mic drop right there. This was fun. A little spur of the moment video for you that we will never do again outside by a crowded street. And again, I am so sorry. But thanks for listening and for sticking with us. Any last thoughts before? You can have a last thing. Do you have anything else? Right.
No, not really. Just speak about it. It helps. And get a support system of reliable people. A support system works because so many people think they can do it alone. I am a testament that you cannot do it by yourself. No one in this world can do it by themselves. We have a saying back home we say, umuntu ngabantu.
Never seen so many motorcycles in my life as we have today.
Yeah,
coming out.
Yeah. So the saying is umuntu ngabantu, which means a person is a person through people. So you need a support structure. You need people around you to push you, to help you, to pick you up when you're down, and congratulate you when you've done well. So yeah.
When you've done wrong, congratulate you.
When you've done well.
No,
when you've done well.
So this actually was a great segue into me inviting you to join our support system, which is the Come Off Conqueror support group, which is on Facebook. So it's a Facebook group, it's private. We share great stories and lots and lots of quotes and funny videos and encouraging videos and all sorts of things. And hopefully you can join us there if you're feeling like you need a support system and you don't have one around you currently. Come join us. We will be your friends and we will support you and love you. I promise there is nothing you can tell me now at this point that would shock me. So join us. We love you. We care about you. And please don't ever forget that God loves you too. God bless.
God bless. Peace out.